Hey guys, how you doing? This is Joel from the Ukulele site, and today we're going to show you what we do every time we set up an instrument for you. So, first things first, we get our orders printed out every morning, get it on a clipboard, and it'll tell us the instrument, any special instructions you have, where it's going, all of that. So, today we're going to be working on a call it K-A-T. So, go ahead, we got the order form going. I'll go ahead and pull the instrument. We want to make sure that there isn't any major cosmetic defects in it, anything that's going to stop us halfway through and we're not going to be able to send it. So we give it a once over, checking for any finish inconsistencies, any course splitting or cracking, any problems that would mess with the structural integrity of it. Make sure there's nothing wrong with the bridge, no major neck issues, too much relief, a back bow, anything going wrong there. So far so good. This one looks good, so we'll go ahead and start with the setup. First things first, we're going to take the measurements to see what we have to adjust. Normally we like to set our action between about 2.5 to 3 millimeters at the max, kind of depending on what we can get away with, the model. This one, the action's a bit high, so we'll go ahead and loosen the strings, lower the action down, and then adjust the nut slot afterward. Saddle slides out, we'll make our markings so we know how much to take off with the sander. I probably set up at least 30,000 ukuleles at this point, since I started working with Mike in 2007. So this is in my everyday life, it's in my dreams, it's in my thoughts. It is all encompassing. Once you get ukuleles in you, you can't get them out. Take off any of the extra that's kind of accumulated on the sides to make sure it slips in easily. There we go. Make sure it's seated evenly. Both sides are straight. Okay. So next we'll bring it back up to pitch. We don't have a hard and fast rule as to how deep the nut slots have to be, but the general idea is you want to make sure you have enough clearance at the first fret so you're not going to get buzzing when it plays open, but low enough that it's going to be comfortable to play. So I use these gauge feelers to kind of get it consistent, so you can try it out and see if it's low enough. You can always lower it later again, but if you go too low, then you're going to have to fill it. You're going to have a lot more work to do. So we'll go a little bit at first, and making sure to keep the angle of the fret slot pitched with the angle of the headstock so you get enough clearance, and you want to keep the friction point right at the tip of the nut. Otherwise, that can create buzzing when you're playing open. If it's too low, it's going to create buzzing. If it's too straight, it's going to create buzzing. And if your nut slot is too wide, the string's just going to move around in there. It's also going to create buzzing. So you want to make sure that it's tight, you're using the right gauge, and also you have the right angle on it. Take it out, check it, bring it back up to pitch. Check to see if there's any buzzing up and down the fretboard. We got some buzzing on the first and second fret on the G and C string. So the rest of it seems to be okay, just mainly those first two frets on those strings. So usually what that can entail is be a fret dress, recrowning it, reconditioning it. But the cause of it is usually sometimes those two frets will be lower than, say, the third fret. So when you're pressing down and you're fretting it, you're not getting enough clearance above the subsequent frets. So you're going to end up touching the tip of it whenever you're playing. The string is going to be vibrating, it's going to be skimming along the top of it, and you're going to hear that metallic buzz. If if you're using a metal string, or it sounds like just the rattling sound with just a nylon string, that's a fret buzz. So it either means that the fret in front of it is too high, the one behind is too low, or sometimes it can be a neck issue, but usually they can be solved with the fret dress. So that's what we'll go ahead and do. Not going to be removing the strings, you can just pull them off and tape them back. If you do that, we always use blue painter's tape because it won't leave a residue on it. We got the strings taped back. We're going to be using our diamond file to level the frets and make sure that it's consistent all the way through, and then kind of feather it back to make sure we're giving clearance on the higher frets so that we're not getting any buzzing on the lower ones. Tell where the frets are being hit and when they aren't when you're doing it, because you'll wind up seeing a shinier, flatter, exposed frets. That's where it's hitting the hardest, and when you see one that it doesn't look like it's untouched, the more you go, you'll start to see once you start hitting it. That's when you know that the rest are flattening out and you're making connections with all of them. As long as your file's straight, when you're using it, it's going to be hitting the highest ones first, and then when you're hitting all of them, you can see that it's flattening out. So just started hitting the first one so the other ones are straight across. We can kind of feather it back just a little bit to make sure that it's getting clearance, because it looks like this is a high spot. We want to make sure we get clearance for the low spot. Now we're going to use the fret crowner to round off the edges, because right now it's got a square top on it. We want to round it off, and then we can finish it off with the sandpaper to smooth it out and get rid of any of the extra scratches that the crowner made. Sometimes you're going to run into sharp fret edges, either because sometimes the fretboard can shrink back a little bit if your ukulele's got extremely dry, or sometimes it's just exposed. So this one, when you're playing, you can feel a sharp edge, and it can be uncomfortable for a lot of people, and you don't really want that. So if we pick that up, we have a special fret edger to get rid of that edge before we do the final round off. So there's a few here that I feel it. I'll go ahead and show you rounding it off. You don't need to put a lot of pressure on it. You're letting the file do all the work, because if you're bearing down on it, you could slip up, you could take off too much, and you don't want that. So it's basically just to kind of kiss the edge of it, take off the sharp edge, and take the edge off of it. While I'm doing this, I'm not putting a ton of pressure on the neck or anything. It's just, you're just doing it enough to round off the top. So if you're holding it like this, or if you want to keep it like this, or you want to use a neck cradle for it, you're not trying to push down on the neck or anything, because it's going to put stress on the joint down here. So you're just going over the top to round off the frets. The steel wool we use is 4-0 extra fine steel wool. This is going to take out any of the extra scratches or fine marks that were in the fretboard, and also polish up the frets and get it ready for the conditioner that we're going to use to kind of seal it, get moisture in the fretboard, and also just to clean it up. And it's gonna be more comfortable to play. Let the strings slide around easier on the frets, and it also makes it look really nice. Now we're done with this, we can remove the tape, get the strings back up to pitch, and take a look at our work. Okay, so get it tuned up. Sometimes after moving the strings around, all the tuning, down tuning and up tuning, they're still gonna be moving around a little bit. It doesn't mean that the tuners are slipping, it just means that the strings need to settle in a little bit. After you've had it at a pretty constant pitch for a while and you're always tuning up, it will settle in and stop moving around so much. But especially when you put a new set of strings on, they're definitely going to need time to stretch. Okay, so this one's all done, it's good to go, but there are some things that do come up. They don't go as easy as this one did. Gloss finishes, sometimes we need to buff out scratches, that'll come up. Sometimes there are issues with the tuners, open gear tuners, sometimes they need to be tightened up. And even like things coming up like the neck angle, or basically other issues may come up that we have to address. So we just want to make sure that you understand that we do this full setup to every instrument. We do as much as we can, and we reject anything that we think is subpar or isn't in line, especially with the company standard. This is an all laminate instrument, so we don't have to worry about a humidifier with it. With any solid wood instruments, we automatically include a Herco guitar humidifier with it. It's very simple. It's just a clay pot with you soak water in it, and that'll release the moisture, but it needs to be kept in the case with the instrument for it to actually work. So if this were a solid wood instrument, we would include it and keep it in the case with it for shipping. If you were in an excessively dry climate, we also suggest and offer an upgrade to the Oasis humidifier because it works better, and it discharges more humidity. You have the ability to suspend it in the body so it releases it and distributes it more evenly. Because if you're somewhere where it's excessively dry, a very harsh winter, anywhere where you're using central heating and cooling, where it's going to dry out the air inside your house, you want to make sure you have it. Especially in the higher end instruments, you're going to want to protect your investment, and you want to make sure that you're maintaining it so that you're getting your money's worth, and you're setting yourself up to be able to play it for a long time. So that is one thing to keep in mind, and that the humidifier only works in an enclosed environment. So if you're just going to hang it up on a wall, you need to have something else going, like a house humidifier, controlled room and environment in that room where you're going to be able to maintain the correct humidity. It's all ready to go from here. We'll attach the work order form to it, get over to Zach. He's the one who's going to box it up and get it shipped out to you. He does a very good job with it. He packs very well. We almost never have any damage ever. Okay, so that's the basic setup that we do with every instrument that goes out. Sometimes there's more to do, sometimes there's a bit less, and like I said, it varies between every instrument because each one is a little bit different. So that'll give you an overall idea of the process, and also give you a little bit of insight into why it not necessarily is going to ship right after you buy it. There's a little bit of time because we like to take our time with it. Not more time than necessary, but enough time to make sure that you're going to get a quality instrument and something that you're going to be happy with right when you open the box. Well, we all care very much about our job. We want to make sure that every customer gets exactly what they paid for and a little bit extra. So we appreciate you taking a look at this and understanding what we offer, why we care so much about it, and a little bit more about what makes our company special. Thank you.